Hello and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. For today's Six Nations Round 2 review. Another stacked weekend of fixtures that were really good. One blowout, but two really good games. Lots of controversy as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And I actually had a bit of a chuckle because earlier, almost this time last week, on Wednesday, I put up the look ahead for the Six Nations. And I asked, can Scotland win the Six Nations? And I said that they're capable of beating France. And I said if they go and beat France, for example, then I think that obviously the Six Nations charge could be on for them. And they came pretty close. We were talking a little bit about the controversy and whether or not I think it's a try or not, and what the fallout's going to be for what was a very close victory for France. England just edging Wales. Wales sort of throwing it away a little bit to a certain degree. I mean, I suppose Scotland also in many ways throwing it away. And then an Ireland performance that was very impressive and sort of continues to show why they are one of the leading sides, if not the leading side in World Rugby at the moment. Now, before we sort of go into some of the results and how the sort of Six Nations table is currently sort of stacking up, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Let's have a look, shall we? This is how it all played out. The first game on Saturday was Scotland against France. Scotland, a little bit like earlier in the competition, that first game against Wales, in the first sort of half, looked pretty impressive. Took charge of the game quite early on and then kind of threw it away, really. But almost came back to win it right at the end. And one of the most controversial, I think, TMO calls we've seen in the last couple of years, where Nick Berry, the referee, was, made a call saying that there was made a call. Basically, what happened is that gotten 4 points down, went over the line and almost had grounding. And Nick Berry decided to go upstairs, and the wording he used was no try. On-field decision, no try, which then means, as per the laws, that they need to find compelling evidence to overturn the decision to award a try. And if you watch it, the first initial sort of, when it goes down, the ball is on the boot and then kind of shifts away. And I don't see how you could think there's anything else underneath it. I don't understand. I mean, for me, it was a try. I think it was over the line. I think it was on the ground. I think it was pretty obvious, to be honest. And initially, Nick Berry was about to overturn his decision. When I think that's probably also something that's really not going to help the sort of situation, is that initially the TMO and Nick Berry sort of had the conversation that the ball's on the ground. And Nick Berry then basically said, so I need to change my decision. And then the TMO literally said, no, I want to have another look at it. And then he said, I can't find conclusive evidence to overturn your decision and award the try. And this is why I continue to get frustrated by the on-field call. And I understand that the referee still need to be able to make calls, for example, but I don't understand why, in that sort of situation, you cannot simply say try or no try. If the question was try or no try, I believe the try was awarded. If he says, I believe it has been scored, the try would have been awarded. So that simple question of on-field decision, no try, is what's affected that decision. And as a result, Scotland have now lost to France, and with it kind of goes their hopes of the Six Nations charge. Needless to say, the Scottish coaching staff were fuming. And this is what Gregor Townsend had to say. He said, the TMO influenced the referee more. They have quite a big screen in that corner, so it should be the referee that decides. He said, I don't think I'm being biased here to say the ball was put on the try line. I think everybody sees that. It's how we get to the correct decisions. If it was held up and we're here going, that we got to have been held up to win a game, it would have been the right decision. But for us, it clearly wasn't the right decision that they came to at the end. It doesn't really matter. The game moves on. We'll get feedback. We do regularly, and that'll be some of the incidents we'll ask clarification on, but it doesn't change the outcome, unfortunately. To be fair to Gregor Townsend, he did sort of, take it on the chin, basically saying that, it shouldn't have gone down to that, basically, and that they could have sort of seen the game out. But they will be seeking clarity over that TMO call from World Rugby, as I personally think that they're justified to do. I think it was a really poor call, and I think it's robbed us of what could have been a really interesting Six Nations, because Scotland have England at home next round, and then Italy away. And all of a sudden, if they were to win those two games, they'd be going into Ireland, that Ireland clash, which was the final clash of the Six Nations, as like a Six Nations final. And how cool would that have been? Now, you're kind of relying on Ireland slipping up against an England or a Wales, in order to try and shape up a last minute sort of day where the Six Nations could still be up for grabs, as opposed to sort of already determined. But if you look at England versus Wales, Wales coming out strong and putting England at 14 points to 5 down at half time. England eventually managed to claw back and get over the line. Once again, I think Warren Gatton will look at that game and be quite happy with the improvement. But he's a results-driven man, and I think that he'll look at that 5 points to 14 and then conceding 11 unanswered points in the second half. You've got to find ways of ticking that scoreboard over. I think that's something that Scotland as well needed to have done more in that second half. 3 points in the entire second half. You've got to find a way to keep scoreboard pressure on. France scores a try, you grab a 3-pointer. You've built up that lead. You've got to stay in the lead. And I think Wales probably similarly, got to find a way to just one penalty in the second half, for example, and they win that game. So you've got to find a way. You can't go scoreless in the second half. You've got to find ways of scoring points, whether that's drop goals, whether that's just penalties. You've got to have, that's a set piece for the move, for example, like the Springboks had the move where they created that sort of more found the 3 points, bang. That's the biggest, I think, issue we've seen in the last few weeks of teams not being able to, see out games, is being able to keep that scoreboard tickling. And then we saw Ireland absolutely hammer Italy, 36 points to 0. I mean, Italy had moments, but there's just such a big gulf in quality between these two teams. And unfortunately, it was pretty evident in this match over there. So if we then go and look at the table over here, which I'm going to bring up in just a second, we're going to have a look at exactly how things all sort of shape up going into the next round. We got a bit of a break this weekend. For example, we've got URC back on our screens, and then we will have Six Nations in a couple weeks' time. So this is how the points are currently. Ireland in first place with 10 points. England have gone 2 from 2. They have not got a bonus point each. They're in 8 points. Scotland with 5 points. They would have taken them to 9 points. They'd beaten France. France are on 4 points off the mark. Wales and Italy both winless in their first 2. Wales have managed to pick up 3 bonus points and sit just 1 point behind France. And so, for example, that could be quite a nice game when it gets to that, as opposed to where that's going to all sort of what's going to determine. But yes, so the next games will be at the end of February, or that last weekend of February. Ireland taking on Wales at the Aviva, Scotland hosting England at Murrayfield, and France at home against Italy. Expect France to really bounce back, because I've not been particularly impressed with France. And everybody talked about the Dupont factor. I said last week I think they're missing Romain Intermac as much as Antoine Dupont, and I continue to sort of hold that opinion. I think this French side got a lot of good players, but I just don't think that they're currently getting the best out of them. And I think that those two, that sort of axis, is what's really missing for France now. But let me know what you thought about the game as well as the weekend down in the comments below. Please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steve, and I'll chat to you soon.